All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Saturday. And for those of you who I have not spoken to so far for 2024, happy 2024. This afternoon, first of all, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. We're going to go into one of my goals for 2024 is to host on a regular basis a leaders masterclass for the rest of this year. So if there's any topic, any agile topic that you want me to go over, I want you to drop it in the comments, okay? And so already for the list of topics that I have, we're starting today with master facilitation. This is crucial for those who want to be scrum masters, even for product owners. You have to know how to be a great facilitator. Practice makes perfect. You're not going to get it right the first time, but the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. I was not a great facilitator when I first started out. Even now, I'm still working on it as I became a Scrum trainer. One of the things that they helped us with is how to not only be a better communicator, but also to be a better facilitator. And so we're going to talk about some of those key components in this master facilitation course. And so next up is going to be about removing impediments. That's going to be a part of our masterclass, as well as Jira and ADO, which is Azure DevOps, one of Microsoft's tools to help Scrum Masters manage their teams. So those are just some of the topics that we're going to be discussing in our 2024 Leaders Season. And so if those of you who are new don't know me yet, you should. This is only for our Facebook group, first of all. Only way people are going to see this, what I'm doing with the Facebook group, I'm using this time to hone our courses, meaning refine them. And so your feedback also is going to be very crucial as I begin to release these courses to the masses. So you get a first glimpse, a first look, feel, touch of all of our master classes for free. Okay, that's one of the benefits of being a part of the Facebook group. So I am absolutely so excited about this time that we have together. So I'm not even going to delay. I want us to jump into the content of this masterclass. Will only be for an hour. So only will be for 1 hour. And so I don't want to delay in the course. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can get into it. It is going to be awesome. So I'm so excited about it. All right. So what do we have? Let me drag this over here, and then we are going to get started with our masterclass. And so again, this is on mastering facilitation. And window, and I want to go here and share. All right, awesome. So in mastering our facilitation, one thing we always want to make sure we're doing, of course, is having some fun with our teams. But most importantly, I want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to make sure that our teams have what they need. So that's one of the benefits of being a master facilitator. So first of all, most already know, right, that I come with several different certifications: certified Scrum Master, advanced Scrum Master, product owner, safe Agilist, agile coach, and most recently became a Scrum trainer for scrum.org. So I have the credentials to help people obtain both their Scrum Master and their product owner certifications there. And so in today's session, we're going to be talking about understanding what is facilitation, the role of a Scrum Master as a facilitator, key facilitation techniques, handling group dynamics, because that is so important, conflict resolution techniques, facilitating agile events, dealing with challenges, practical tips, and best practices. So that's what we're going to be covering in this session this morning. I know it's early for a lot of us, so get you some cup of tea and get a snack and sit back. Again, it's only going to be for about 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to help you become a master facilitator this year. And so when we think about facilitation, facilitation is a core competency for Scrum Master. It's not just about running meetings, but it's also about enabling your team to work effectively, efficiently within the Scrum framework. So facilitation in a Scrum context is the process of guiding the Scrum team and understanding and applying the Scrum framework effectively. It involves enabling them to reach decisions, to problem solve, and engage fully in the Scrum process without imposing control or specific outcomes. Now, a good facilitation character is to be neutral at all times. Guiding the team. You have to have the ability to guide the team without leading the team. It's about helping the team to find their own solutions rather than providing them the solutions. That is a part of enabling and empowering your team as a really good facilitator. Remember, we are servant leaders, so we are leading them. We are not leading them, we are guiding them. We are not telling them what to do, but we're helping them make the decisions so that they can come to their own conclusions at the end of the day. That is the part of empowering our teams and being a really good facilitator. Now, the relevance of being a facilitator in Scrum is the fact that it's about, again, guiding our teams. And so we want to make sure that all of our Scrum ceremonies, that they are effective. Facilitation is not a skill, but a mindset that values collaboration, open communication, and respect for diverse opinions. In a really good, effective facilitator is one who significantly enhances the team dynamics, enhances their productivity, and overall success in agile projects. Now, that means for sprint planning, for example, you want to make sure that your teams have clear goals and create realistic sprint backlogs and outcomes. That is the key to being a really good facilitator. Remember, we're there not to tell them what to do, but to guide them in making the right decision. We support the decisions that they make, helping them to be more collaborative along the way. That is also crucial for creating a great environment. You want to have a environment where your teams can thrive. You want to have an environment of continuous process improvement, and that means having a cross-functional, self-organizing nature built into your team's foundation. That is always going to help you to have those high-performing teams. And you want to, as a Scrum Master, you want to support your team's decision-making process, whatever that may be. You want to support them every step of the way. And then, of course, we know what typically happens in teams: conflict. And so it is our role as Scrum Masters, even as product owners, to resolve conflict as fast and as soon as possible. We don't want anything to sit there and bubble and boil. We want to address it head on. We don't want to be passive. Instead, we want to be aggressive. What I mean by aggressive is not invoking our habits into, is not invoking what we want to see happen, but it's making sure that we're aggressive and moving in quickly to identify that there is a problem, working with the parties to resolve it as fast as possible. So we are navigating and resolving conflict within our team because we want to maintain a healthy and constructive working environment. And so that means that for the facilitation process, as we're doing this, we want to continue to promote clearer, more effective communication, helping the team to avoid misunderstandings so that they can stay aligned with project goals and our Scrum principles. So that's where we come in as Scrum Masters to make sure that our teams are actually functioning in a healthy manner. So that's how we, as facilitators, that's how we relate into the Scrum process. So now the Scrum Master as a facilitator, again, it goes back to guiding our team. So our role goes way beyond just conducting meetings. Your role goes way beyond just getting the meetings on the calendar. I think that's what most people think. Oh, I'm the Scrum Master. All I got to do is schedule these meetings. No, it goes beyond that. That's why I see so many people that get into Scrum, they become Scrum Masters, and then in 3 months, 6 months, they've lost their job, because it goes beyond just scheduling your meetings. Your role is not just conducting the meetings. It goes beyond that. You are nurturing and guiding the teams through the Scrum process. And guiding the Scrum process, we must not just know the rules, but also understand the principles behind them. That is the key. So when someone comes to you and says, I don't want to attend the daily stand-up, you don't just say, well, you have to. It's a part of the Scrum process. You have to show up. But instead, what you should be doing in coaching them and guiding them is explain the benefits of attending the daily stand-up, emphasizing the need for them to be there and how it directly benefits their work and make their job so much easier. Because the daily stand-up is all about when the team come together and not only to identify impediments, but they come together to see how we're progressing in our iterations, whether it's 2-3 weeks. We come together. So if you're struggling with something, I can help you. We come together so that if there's any pain points within the teams, we can work on them and continuously improve our processes. So when you understand the benefits of all these Scrum ceremonies, you're better able to help your team become high performing. But most importantly, it helps with your facilitation skills. So when facilitating Scrum ceremonies, we want to focus on the balance between keeping meetings efficient and allowing for meaningful participation, because that is key. You want all your team members to participate. You will find some who are quiet and may want to stay in the back of the room, right? They'll keep, if you're on Zoom or you're on Teams, you'll find that those people typically won't have their camera on and keep their microphone off. So our role is to pull them out of their comfort zone, to pull them out of their shell and allow them a safe space so that they can contribute to the overall team. So fostering team collaboration as Scrum Masters, we have to encourage the quieter ones to participate, ensuring that everyone is heard and all views are being seen from all vantage points. Not everyone wants to be the loudest in the room, and I understand that, but it is our role to help them come out of their shell, and so that the quiet one and quiet down the loud ones. They say that squeaky wheel gets the oil. So our role is to quiet down the squeaky wheels so that the quieter ones can step forth and create a balance within our teams. That is one of the roles as a Scrum Master facilitator. And then also, once again, resolving conflict. We're acting as a mediator. We're making sure, again, we're staying neutral. We're understanding different perspectives. We're ensuring that everyone feels both heard and appreciated. We are the ones. It used to be a time they said the Scrum Master was both the referee and the cheerleader, and we still are. We referee conflict to help get a resolution, but we're also cheering on our team, letting them know how much we appreciate them, their opinions, their feedback, their input. You want to constantly remind your team how much you need them and you appreciate them. They're getting the work done. They're the ones who's developing the code. So we always want to make sure that we show our gratitude. And then as we're doing that, we also want to highlight any opportunities for continuous process improvement. And we do that sometimes with our retrospect. Because in our retrospect, what do we typically do? We typically take a look back to see what didn't work, what worked, and how can we improve on our processes. That's our feedback loop within the team. And so within that feedback loop, we want to make sure that whatever action items that we come through, what comes out of that retrospect, we want to make sure that we are addressing them and we are accomplishing everything that we set out to do. That is a part of the feedback loop, and should be a continuous process improvement loop. Feedback comes in, we work on it, we complete it. New feedback comes in, we work on it, we complete it. It should be a constant loop of feedback during our retrospectives and even our reviews, our sprint reviews. That's what we get, our feedback loop from our stakeholders. Our stakeholders attend our sprint review, and they provide feedback to the team and to our product owner. We add it to the backlog. We work on it. We have a sprint review. They provide feedback. We add it to the backlog. It's a continuous process improvement loop if you're doing it right. I should stress that. If you are doing it right, it should be a continuous process improvement loop. How does it go wrong? It goes wrong when it's like, oh, we don't need a retrospective today. Oh, let's not do that. Let's not do a sprint review. That's where it goes wrong. And so no matter what your team is going through, you want to make sure that you are having your sprint review and your retrospective. Again, it's not out of pomp and circumstance. We're not doing it just for the sake of doing it. We're doing it so when your team says, we don't want to have a retrospective, well, you know what? We're good. Right? We everything we set out to, everything we commit to, we accomplish it. So we don't need a retrospective. We need a feedback loop. And surely not everybody in the team feels the same way. So let's just meet, have some fun in our retrospective. Let's see what comes out of it. So you always want to encourage them to attend a retrospective because you also should be doing different formats. Sometimes I'll do a Wheel of Fortune, ask them different questions to lighten up the mood and to get them to open up. So switching up the formats is another way to keep your retrospective new, fresh, and exciting because those meetings can easily become repetitive, dull, and boring. So again, it's all about being a really good facilitator. And a part of that is also understanding team dynamics. It is very important because it varies from team to team. What you do for one team, you may not do for the other team because it may not work. And what one team needs, the other team may not need. A good scrum master and product owner allows their team to lead, and it starts with effective communication. I've had teams that were the polar opposites. One team, very needy. They needed me for everything. Another team, very hands-off. They remove their own impediments and they would come and tell me what the impediment. Oh, we had this issue. We fixed it. Oh, this thing tried to stop us. We resolved it. Right. Another team, very, very needy. Right. And so neither one is a good or a bad thing. But the key is that what you do for one team, you may not necessarily have to or need to do for the other team. And you have to observe your teams. Do not jump in and think, oh, I did this for team B, so it's going to make sense for me to do it for team D. No. So it goes again, you have to really build with your team. What does that mean? Build trust, build respect, build a rapport with your team. Begin by fostering an environment of open communication. It helps in reducing misunderstandings and keeping everyone on the same page. And that's why sometimes I like to use my retrospectives for team building events. And so if they're like, oh, we don't really have anything we want to talk about, well, let's do a team building event. And so I may do something where we build upon some skills. I may do something, introduce something new to them, but that is the key. So we're always utilizing every second that we have together to get to know each other deeper and to build trust and to build respect. That is the key because we're also empowering our teams, which leads to more engagement and higher quality of work and a sense of ownership amongst all the team members. That's because if the team, they feel like they own the work, they will do everything in their power to get their work done, everything. Once they know that they own it, a team that's disengaged and feels like, oh, it don't make a difference. What I'm doing doesn't make a difference, right? Well, right? And they don't own it. You will see, that's when you'll see teams like, oh, we're going to get out 10 stories and then complete 3. They don't feel a sense of ownership. But when they feel that sense of ownership, if they say they committed to 10 stories, they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that those 10 pieces of requirements that they are absolutely done. And that means it all starts with promoting the agile mindset. Continue all throughout your ceremonies, your engagement with your team. You want to be reinforcing the agile principles of flexibility, adaptability, and continuous process improvement. This helps your teams to internalize and practice these values in their work. And I've had people that started out with me, software engineers, QA, and I started out doing agile with them, and they went on to other organizations. And one of the things they said to me was, Armstrong, I'm so glad that you instill so many great qualities, agile qualities within me. I've taken them to my other organization. And one of like, not all Scrum Masters are created equal. And some, and I get it. Everybody wants to make six figures. I understand that. But some just put in the bare minimum, right? I believe no matter where I'm at, I am called to do more than the bare minimum, because at the end of the day, when someone leaves my team and goes to another team, I want them to know that they came from under a great Scrum Master, and they take those skills and everything that they learned with them. And one of them said, oh my, everything you taught me, I took it to the next organization, and I even helped them get better in agile. And that is such a rewarding feeling, because that means that I'm doing what I am supposed to do. And one of the key facilitation techniques for Scrum Masters is actively listening. I had to practice this. I'm a talker. Okay, I could talk all day, right? Especially when it comes time to agile. But you have to know how to actively listen. So I have a course that I do called my Do Nothing Success Strategy for Scrum Masters and Product Owners. And that course is all about, how do I come in if I have no Scrum experience? How do I come in and be a great Scrum Master from day one? You listen. You listen. Your team will always tell you what they need. The first thing people do, oh, I got my 2-day certification, I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna be a rock star. Baby, no, that 2 days is not enough for you to be a rock star. So that's why I have the Do Nothing Success Strategy course, because the first thing I say is, you want to come in and you want to observe your team. You want to sit back and you want to listen, because you want to understand, what does your team need? What are their pain points? What are they going through? What are they struggling? What are some of their wins that they already had? So you can celebrate those. And you can remind them, oh, but I heard you guys did great with this initiative. How can we continue that winning streak? That's why you want to go in and begin to actively listen to your team. Don't give them something they're not craving for. You want to give them exactly what they need, and you can only do that by listening. So facilitation techniques for Scrum Master and Product Owner, this is the arsenal to guide us to effectively being a great Scrum Master and through the Scrum Master process. So actively listening, the key is that understanding your team members' viewpoints. This builds trust and ensures that all the ideas and concerns are genuinely considered. When you get your first Scrum team, let me tell you something, they will tell you all kinds, and this don't work, and that don't work, and this don't work. And so what I always recommend, when they start throwing out all the list of things, you document it. I call it my hit list. I document it, and then I categorize it: high, low, medium, priority. What are the things that I need to tackle when I first get my team? But it starts with actively listening. And then a part of that is effective questioning. Ask questions using open-ended, clarifying, and probing questions to ensure a deeper discussion and understanding. And so here's some questions that you, if I was starting off with a new team, and I typically use these questions, you want to ask them questions like, what are your pain points? What are some of the challenges that hasn't been addressed for your team? What are some of the challenges that could potentially derail our sprint goals? Right? What are some of the challenges we have with working with one another? If I'm trying to help a team generate new ideas, I may say, if you had unlimited resources, how would you approach this problem differently? If I want to encourage my team to think critically, I would say, what assumptions are we making here, and how do they affect our decision-making process? So these are some probing, open-ended, clarifying questions I may ask my team. Sometimes I like to do, if I'm trying to understand the team dynamics, I'll say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are we in meeting our sprint objectives? And what can we do to increase our voter confidence? If I want to improve the processes in practice, how can anyone describe a situation? Can anyone describe a situation where a different approach or process worked better? What can we learn from this experience? So these are some of the effective questions we can use to go deeper, to have these deeper conversations and bring forth a deeper understanding within our team. These questions are designed to prompt a deep reflection and discussion, leading to a more engaged and thoughtful team dynamic. Right? They can be particularly effective in retrospectives and all of our Scrum meetings, really, especially during sprint planning, because that's where we really want to facilitate continuous improvement and team collaboration. So it starts with having those probing questions. Visualization facilitation. Now, using visual tools, this is where Miro and Figma, all of these brainstorming whiteboard tools come into place, right? So you want to use that to also, you can use it to track your team's progress, to track your team's brainstorming, to track any design decisions. You want to use those visual facilitation techniques as well. So when your team is saying, oh, we have this idea, let's whiteboard it out. Let's see what that looks like. Have you put together a design? Yeah, a mock-up. So you want to encourage those visual illustrations with your team. And also along the way, as you're building the visualization, as you're asking these probing questions, you're actively listening. Don't forget, time management is so important. Respect the time of your team. What I love about Scrum is the fact that everything is time boxed. Because that's why you only have the 5 meetings, because we're meant to spend more time being productive than we're meant to spend in meetings. So we want to make sure a key to being a good facilitator is respecting your team's time, starting and ending on time, respectively. Resolving conflict also along the way, right? So as we're having these meetings and we're going deep into it, with time boxing it, conflict may arise, right? Remember what I said. We want to go in quick and resolve conflict as quickly as possible. Any disagreements, I have a technique. I always have one-on-ones with those who are disagreeing. And then once I have a one-on-one with them, then I may pull them into a room together. But I want to hear both sides. Remember, I'm neutral. As Scrum Masters, we're neutral. As product owners, somebody brings conflict to you, you're neutral. So you want to hear both sides, and then we come together for consensus. How can we work together? How can, even though we have a difference of opinions, how can we resolve this and come together for the benefit of the team? So that's what we're doing. That is the key to being a really good Scrum Master and a really good facilitator. We want to come in and resolve conflict as fast as possible. Now, again, effective listening, right? When do we use our active listening skills? Daily stand up. That's one. This is what all the members must say. All the members come together and provide their update, the progress. If someone seems unclear or hesitant, ask for follow-up so that you can understand what their challenges are better. Active listening skills, doing our retrospectives. Listen to feedback without interrupting. Acknowledge the speaker points before moving to the next person. That's a part of active listening in our retrospectives, showing that their input is valued and considered. That's where you're going to use your active listening skills. So daily stand-up and our retrospectives, right? That's where you're going to use your active listening skills. Effective questioning. When is it appropriate to use that technique? Our sprint planning. That's when we're going to ask those open-ended questions like, what challenges do we anticipate in this sprint? Because we want to get ahead of those challenges. We want to identify those risks, those dependencies now, so that they don't bite us in the end later on in the sprint. So you want to encourage that deeper thinking and proactive planning and sprint planning. So that's when we're going to use that effective questioning. Once again, effective questioning. Once again, retrospectives. Use questions like, how could we have approached this differently, to guide the team in reflective thinking and learning from past sprints. That's when we're going to use the effective questioning technique. The time management, time boxing, right? Our daily stand up, that should be the most obvious. You have 15 minutes. Are you going to run across some talkers, some long-winded people that want to go all around the moon and back and tell you everything that they're working on? Yes, you will. Yes. And so when you have that, that's when you're going to steer them gently back to the main points when they start to diverge. Sometimes some teams use timers. What I love about Microsoft Teams, it begins to count down like when you have last 5 minutes. Also, there's a technique called the parking lot technique. So when somebody begins to ramble, oh, I have a question for Joe. Oh, wait a minute. Let's put that in the parking lot. Let's make sure we get to all our team members. Then we'll address our parking lot items. Time management technique. In sprint planning and review meetings, set a clear agenda. Those who have taken my do nothing success strategy, I give you the agenda for all the meetings. You just copy and paste it when you get your first Scrum Master job. You want to make sure there's an agenda there at all times, so that time is allocated for each topic. If the discussion exceeds their time, suggest moving them to a separate focused meeting, or again, the parking lot for discussion. That's how we handle and manage time within our team. Visualization. Do all the while sprint, right? Whether you're using a Kanban board, the Scrum board, Miro, Figma, use it to track your progress, use it to track decisions as far as architectural designs and decisions. Product owner, we have our roadmap as a visualization. We use that all throughout our Scrum process. And also, and again, once again, our retrospects. We use diagrams and charts. We use so many different visualization tools. Sometimes the Wheel of Fortune. Sometimes we may play Jeopardy. Again, visualization, facilitation. It's a great way to also show your team their successes and also identify areas of improvement. I show my team our velocity. It's in the chart. That's the visualization. And so in looking at our velocity sometimes and our retrospects, okay, we did 20 here, 30 here, 10 there. Let's talk about what's going on and how we can stabilize our velocity. I'm a visual person. I love to see things. You want to explain something to me? Draw it out. Give me a diagram. I'm a visual person. And so we want to provide as many visuals as possible when we can. Consensus building. When are we going to use this approach? So when it comes to consensus building and sprint planning, when there's a disagreement on priorities or estimations, guide the team to discuss the pros and cons of each option. Encourage the team to express their views and then move towards a decision that respects the collective input. Because when you begin to estimate a story, it's only for sprint planning, also for backlog refinement, everyone's going to have a different viewpoint as far as the effort of a story. This is 3, this is 5, maybe an 8 for me. So you want to begin to build consensus by discussing and moving them to have a more productive conversation, and so that we can get to a collective input. Okay, we all think it's a 5 now. We talked it through. Do we agree we can complete the story with 5 points? And so when it comes for conflict, because sometimes it can arise, right? Sometimes it can pop up, right? We want to facilitate a discussion where each side is heard. Help the team to find common ground or compromise. So hearing both sides of each party, then you want to help them find a common ground. That's what I would like to do. When there's real conflict, separate one-on-ones, then we come together for a common ground and figure out a way where we can compromise. Get a little bit of what you want, a little bit of what you want. That's how we help the team to resolve conflict and come to a consensus. Like I said, conflict will always arise. Remain neutral, remain empathetic. Encourage open communication where each party can express their views without interruption. Guide the team towards focusing on the problem, not the person. And this sometimes can happen during the retrospective. Okay, you want to focus on the problem, not the person. We remain neutral. Let's talk about what the real problem is. Identify it. Let's come to a common ground and a solution that we all agree will work for us at this moment with the information that we have. So those are all the appropriate usage of facilitation techniques. And what I tell you, practice makes perfect. You're not going to get it right the first time. Lord knows I did not get it right the first time. Everything that I'm sharing with you is just out of practicing with my team, getting to know my team, and just honing my skill on how to facilitate and be the best I can with my team, because applying these techniques requires a blend of attentiveness, empathy, and clarity from the Scrum Master. The key is to remain adaptable and responsive to the team's dynamics and specific context for each solution. Like I said, whatever you do for one team, you may not be able to do for another team. So you want to understand those dynamics, and every situation from team to team is going to be different. So what you apply for one team, it may not work for the other. Remember, not all teams are built the same, thus their needs will be different. But we remember the 3 pillars of Scrum: transparency, inspect, and adapt. We are always transparent, we inspect, and then we adapt. We adapt our styles. We adapt the way we handle situations. It's going to be different from team to team. It is not a one size fits all. So that's something I want to make sure that you remember. Because handling team dynamics and Scrum, you're going to need a lot of patience. Let me say that. You're good, because guess what? We're dealing with diverse skill sets and backgrounds, right? Which is why it's also important to recognize that team members come from different skills, different experiences, as I said, different backgrounds, which can influence how they approach work and collaboration. Familiarize yourself with Tuckman's stages of group development. And so what is Tuckman's stages of group development? Those are the 5 stages of teams. It's a book on it, right? And it's forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Okay? When a team is forming, it's chaotic, right? They're just getting together. That's typically you're working out your team working agreement. You should be. Your definition of done, your definition of ready. You're setting your team's foundation. That is at the forming stage. Then they go, so you're forming, you're setting up the basis, the foundation for their team. And as they're forming, then you go into storming. They're trying to figure out how they're going to really work together. What is their communication style? What is their decision-making process? They're deciding all that in the storming phase. Your velocity may be 5, and then 10, and then 15, and maybe drop down to 5 because they're storming. They're also figuring out the work, the code base, sometimes the tool. They're figuring all that out in that storming phase. But once they begin to figure it out, then they begin to norm. That's when you start to see they're able to complete 20 story points for 2 sprints, 3 sprints. Now they're norming. Beware of also different communication styles within the team: assertive, passive, aggressive, and how they impact the interactions within your team. That's very important. Understand the team's approach to decision making, whether it's consensus driven, led by certain members, or a mix of various styles. Sometimes you'll have someone who's very strong and opinionated. Maybe they're led by that person. You want to break that. Why? Because you want to make sure all the team has a buy-in. Maybe they are consensus driven, which is great, right? Or what's the majority? Oh, I say yes. Okay, the majority says yes. Right? You want to understand what their style. It could be a mix of both, but you want to understand what that style is so that you know how to handle your team's dynamics. Every team, I always say, has a dynamic. And then I started saying every team has a culture. I had one team, oh my goodness, they love to communicate via email and text. And they would text each other. Now we had teams. I'm like, Don't y'all want to use Teams? But they were so used to. They had been together for so many years. And so they were just used to using emailing each other back and forth, or texting each other. Oh, yeah, I got a text from some. You got a text from who? Why are they texting you? Right? That was their team's culture. Not even the dynamic. That was the culture of the team. Had another team, their team's channel was busy, like nonstop. That was their culture, right? Nonstop. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back, which is great. I love communication, right? But so you have to understand. Now, did I just instantly say to them, y'all need to go to Teams? Cut out all this emailing. Stop texting each other. You need to go to Teams. No, I just gradually began to start communicating with them on Teams. And I would go at such and such. So it would ping them. Sean's reaching out to you. And before I knew it, they started responding, and then more and more, because change cannot be instant. It has to be gradual. You want to introduce change as gradual as possible. Before I knew it, they were off email. They stopped texting each other. But I introduced it very gradually to them. If they responded to me via email, did I respond? Yes. If they responded to me via text, did I respond? Yes. Right? But anytime I wanted to ask them something, I only put it in Teams. I didn't even use email. That's how I introduce change to them. So you have to understand your team dynamics and also the culture of your team, and begin to introduce change very slowly. So here are some strategies for managing team perspectives, because we're creating an inclusive environment. In order to do so, we want to foster a team culture where every member feels valued and comfortable sharing their thoughts. This can be achieved through inclusive meeting practices and actively seeking input from quieter members. So one thing I always say, specifically in our retrospectives, that's when, like I said, the quiet people, they can sit in the back of the room. They won't really say anything. And I want to bring them out of their shell. So I have a what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas policy in my retrospective. So that means whatever happens in our retrospective, it does not leave our retrospective. If it needs to, we ask permission. And so what that means, if there's something that we want to process that we want to improve upon, but we need manager's assistance, I will always ask, okay, we're going to need such and such to make this happen. Is it okay if I take this conversation out of our retrospective and bring it to them so that we can make this happen? So you want buy-in from your team. You want their approval. That's how you build trust and you build respect. Remember, facilitating effective communication, we want to encourage open and respectful communication. We're using all of our facilitation techniques to ensure that all voices are heard and considered, especially during the decision-making process. So if I can get them to open up in the retrospective, and I know that they feel heard, they feel respected, and I'm considering everything that they say, I consider it, then during the decision-making process, such as sprint planning, backlog refinement, they will feel that they can open up and be a part of their process. Remember, the squeaky wheel typically gets the oil, but we want to make sure that everyone is heard. And again, I'm going to talk about conflict resolution. Again, you're going to hear me talk about it a couple of times. And the facilitation, because one of the questions they ask during the Scrum Master interview is, how do you resolve conflict within your team? And you do so by equipping yourself with conflict resolution skills to address disagreements constructively. Focus on finding solutions that acknowledge the different perspectives. That's how we handle it. Remember, one-on-ones, then you bring them together for a common ground. As Scrum Masters, we're always, even product owners, we're always adapting our leadership styles. You must be flexible in your leadership approach. Adapt your style to suit your team, right? Adapt your style to suit your team and their dynamics and their culture. Whether it requires a more direct approach during the forming stage or a more hands-off approach during the performing stage. Whatever they need, you want to make sure that you are providing it. Some teams, once they become performing, especially high performing, hands off. I had a team that was high performing. They would solve their own conflict. They would solve their own impediments. They would come and tell me, oh, such and such wasn't getting along. We took care of that for you, right? Because they were high performing. It's a good thing. Some scrum masters get scared when their teams are high performing. Oh, but they're not going to need me. They're always going to need you. There's always something that can be and should be done. So never feel that way. You have done an excellent job where your team is high performing. So never feel like, and I've had teams that were on autopilot, right? And it felt like they didn't need me. They were on autopilot. They're solving, hitting their velocity, taking on more stories. And I loved it. So what it allowed me to do was focus on team building activities, regularly engaging in team building exercise to strengthen relationships and improve understanding amongst the team members. This helps in building trust and smoothing out group dynamics. So instead, I shifted. And I went to team building activities when they became high performing. Again, there's always something that you can be doing as a scrum master. We want our teams to be self-sufficient and independent. That is always the goal. And if they're doing that, kudos to you. You're doing a fantastic job. So I do want to hone in a little bit more on conflict resolution, because in Scrum, again, there's always going to be a change sometimes in environments. Maybe a new team member comes on, and so this skill is crucial. Emphasizing the issue, you want to emphasize the issue that the team is dealing with, that the individuals are dealing with, rather than the person, and finding a common ground. That's going to be the key to resolving their conflict. You want to continue to restate what the issue is, right? This can prevent misunderstandings and highlight the core issue. Then we're trying to find that common ground. We want to identify a common goal. Why? Because this shifts the focus from individual differences to team successes. So you want to get to the goal as quickly as possible. You want to brainstorm with those. This collaborative approach ensures buy-in from all parties and can lead to innovative solutions. What if they're disagreeing on solutions? Let's do some brainstorming on how we can bring our solutions together. It can lead to innovation. Compromise and negotiation. Now, this might not lead to a perfect solution for all, but it can result in an acceptable resolution that everyone can at least live with for now. So we want to engage and give a little, take a little, give and take. Let's come to a compromise that we can live with a solution for now. Again, always focus on the problem. We want to reduce defensiveness and promote a more objective view of the issue, the conflict. And then finally, I always say follow up. You always want to follow up. How do you feel about the compromise that we made? How do you feel about the negotiations? How do you feel about the solution we came together? You okay? You good? So you always want to do follow up. And sometimes, especially if you're more junior, sometimes you may need external help. If the conflict is too complex or is deep rooted, don't hesitate to seek external help, such as a professional mediator, an agile coach, a manager. These techniques, it's okay. But these techniques not only resolve the immediate conflict, but also build a foundation for better communication and understanding within the team, allowing them to contribute and be a healthier, more productive team. And thus, productive teams means more productive work, more throughput. And so that's why having great conflict resolution techniques, it helps to empower, it helps to strengthen, it helps to make sure that your team has throughput. That means as much work is flowing through your team as possible without any bottlenecks, which can be that conflict. I had one time some conflict within the team. Actually, I inherited the team, and it was during a retrospective. And I just walked into it so blindly and didn't even know that there was issue already there. And the situation was that a developer thought that a developer left. And so the developer that was next in line thought, oh, well, this senior developer left. That means I'm going to get promoted, and now I'm going to be the senior developer. But that didn't happen. And so what happened was, instead they hired someone from the outside to now be the lead senior developer. And he was furious about it. I had no idea this was happening. The scrum master left. I inherited the team. And so walked into this retrospective, he was furious. And as we talked about what's working, what's not working, he just blew up in the retrospective. And what I did not know was that he had been working hard to prove that the new lead dev was incompetent. He had been working to prove that behind the scenes that they hired the wrong person and he should have had that role. And even when that didn't work, he exploded in the retrospective. Exploded, yelled, and then he stormed out slamming the door. That was a tough moment for all of us. And something that I had to do for the first time, I had to quickly take care of my team. Just got them. Understand what the pain points were. That's when they began to tell me, this is what's going on. It's been going on for a while now. They began to unload everything on me. And that was the first time I really had to take something out of our retro. Remember, I told you I have what happens in the retro stays in the retro. But I had to take it out of my retro because some people were scared. They were frightened at this outburst. So I had to take it out of my retro and bring it to the manager's attention. And from there, the manager began to put this person on a performance improvement plan, which only highlighted some more underlying issues. But the role of the Scrum Master is to shield and protect your team at all times. And I knew everyone on the team, so I already had a rapport with them, and they trusted I would do right by them. That is the power of being a great facilitator. Even though the gentleman had an outburst, I still gathered around my team. We left out of there with some action points that we wanted to partake on. I asked their permission to take what happened out of the session. They gave me permission. And from there, we got that situation resolved. You want to make sure that those who are in your care as Scrum Masters, you want to make sure that you are really serving them as much as possible. And it's not always going to be pretty. It's going to be some ugly moments sometime. But you have to know that as much as you have your team's back, your team will have your back as well. And so when we talk about facilitating Scrum events, again, that was our retrospective. I had to facilitate that. And it was a tough one for me. I never encountered that before. And so when you're having your retros, that's why I always say it's a safe space. You want to make it a space where people feel safe and they can provide honest feedback. And they gave me honest feedback. It's just unfortunate that his emotions got the best of him, and it turned and shifted the environment of that retrospective. But we were able to pull it back together and make it more constructive and actionable so that we can have improvements that we were going to take on as action items. There was problems there, but we were committed to one another to get those problems resolved, and resolved we did. Daily stand-up. The importance of it being brief is so that we are focusing on what needs to be done that day. So we must make sure as Scrum Master, we're making sure that it remains focused. We want to make sure that each person is getting the opportunity to discuss what they're working on, to discuss their impediments, and that anyone who wants to be long-winded, we're making sure to provide them an opportunity by using our parking lot technique to maintain order within our daily Scrum. Will there be someone that may try to disrupt it? Yes, but that's when our conflict resolution techniques has to kick in. Our sprint planning. The key is always being prepared. It should be a balance in sprint planning between the discussion and what needs to be done and how it will be accomplished. So we maintain that balance in our sprint planning sessions. Our sprint review, my favorite, our show and tell, right? We want to emphasize being collaborative. That is the nature of this event. All the developers, they should be hyped up. We are the hype people. So we want to hype them up so that they will get ready to present their very best work and showcase everything they have accomplished in a 2-3 week iteration to the stakeholders to provide feedback. So we also want to make sure we're fostering a sense of achievement. I always like to start my sprint reviews with everything the team has completed, especially when they hit their velocity. This is the third time they hit their velocity. The team is doing awesome. Now let's get ready to see all the hard work they have accomplished. And I will turn it over to my team. So you always want to be highlighting and fostering a sense of achievement within your team. And as you notice, I don't have backlog refinement on the list because backlog refinement is a product owner meeting. Do we attend them as Scrum Masters? Yes, we do. But it is a product owner meeting. And the reason, so what we're doing in that session, we're making sure that the team feels heard, that the team is voicing their concerns, the risks, their dependencies, and that they're being collaborative. Very similar also to what we do in our sprint planning session. We're making sure that we have a healthy balance between discussing and what needs to be done, identifying risks and dependencies. So those are all the things that we're doing in our ceremonies. Remember, the daily stand-up is where we go to synchronize our daily work. So know the purpose of your Scrum events. This helps you when somebody says, but I don't want to attend daily stand-up, right? So you want to talk about why you should be attending, right? And also, one thing I like to do in my daily, this is just me, my daily stand-ups, come hyped up. Come hyped up in the morning. Hey, everybody, happy Monday. Hey, it's Friday. Hey. Come hyped up. It helps them get their day started. You don't have to come in, okay, what you did. No, you come up. Hey, everybody, happy Wednesday, hump day. Ready for the weekend. Monday, hey, everybody. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm pulling up the board, about to start sharing. Give everybody time to get in the room. All right, who wants to go first? Who wants to kick us off? So you bring the energy, you bring the hype to your daily stand-up. It'll make people want to come. It'll make them want to show up. We do that. Sprint planning. Remember the purpose? To determine what can be delivered in our upcoming sprint, setting a realistic sprint goal. Know what that meeting is for. So when somebody says to you in the interview, tell me about the life and the day of a Scrum Master. Oh, every day we have our daily stand-up. Then we'll have our sprint planning session where we discuss our sprint goal and begin to plan what we're going to deliver in our upcoming sprint. Maybe it's a sprint review day where we're going to inspect the outcome of our sprint and determine future adaptations. Maybe it's a sprint retrospective day where we're going to reflect back on our past sprints and identify opportunities for continuous process improvement. Maybe it's a product backlog refinement day. And we're going to begin to refine. The product is going to give us new requirements. And we're going to begin to refine and estimate those new requirements. So when you know what the ceremonies are, the purpose, it will help you answer that interview question and help you be a great facilitator for your team. I talked about change earlier, and I said I like to introduce change slowly to my team. Why? Because there can be resistance to change. Yes, when you have a Scrum team, there's going to be some challenges. On your agile journey, you will run into those challenges. Start by acknowledging the fact that facing these challenges, it is a normal part of working in Scrum. The key is how you handle and address the challenges. That's why I like to inject change slowly into my teams. That's one of the changes you will see, especially somebody. I've been with the company for 20 years. Now they're agile. Why? The old way was working. Why are they agile now? Right? So you have to introduce change very slowly. Some team members may be resistant to adapting to Scrum. So you want to educate them. That's the first thing I do. If I know it's a new agile transformation, they've been doing waterfall for 25 years. Now we're going to agile. Let's begin to educate them. I'll hold some agile courses, sessions. What is Scrum? What is Kanban? What is under the agile umbrella? I'll demonstrate the value of Scrum practices. Use some of my success stories to gradually implement, to ease the transition into Scrum. One of the challenges you will find when you get your team, overcommitment. So if you get, the first thing I always say in my do nothing success, look at your team's metrics. It's called historical data. You want to pull their velocity and you want to see what they've been committing to and completing over the course of the past couple of sprints. And from there, you want to encourage realistic sprint planning. Realistically being able to complete their work that they started in the sprint. But you have to understand their velocity and use those past performances as a guide to their future sprints and help them overcome overcommitting. And show them the benefit. If you commit, you're going to complete. Show them that benefit and reward them. Celebrate them when they do so. One of the other challenges may be poor communication. Some teams don't talk to each other. You want to resolve that poor communication. It could be misunderstandings, a lack of clarity. All those things can lead to your team having poor communication skills. And if they have poor communication skills, it's probably leading to project delays and frustration. So using your daily stand-ups effectively, ensuring everyone is clear about their tasks and responsibilities, that's going to help you to resolve their poor communication skills. It could be requirements. So you may be working with your product owner. You want clear and concise requirements. You want to make sure that all the assets that a user story is supposed to have, our definition of ready, you want to make sure that that definition is being adhered to. Again, clear communication. There also may be a lack of engagement amongst your teams. And so team members might be disengaged or may not fully be committed to the Scrum process. You know, that's that one. I don't want to go to daily stand-up. I don't think we need a sprint review. I think we should cancel our retrospective, right? A lack of engagement. They are disengaged and they're not fully committed to the Scrum process. So what do? We want to advocate the importance of attending a sprint review. So our stakeholders can provide feedback, but that's our feedback loop. We do a sprint review, they see it, they get to touch it, they get to play with it, they provide feedback. That feedback goes to our backlog. We do another sprint, we do a review, they see it, play with it, touch it, provide feedback. That's our feedback loop. So we want to explain the importance of that. We want to explain again the importance of attending all the sessions, how it's beneficial to the team. And another thing I don't have on here, but external interference. Your Scrum team sometimes can be distracted. So remember, we're there to shield the team from interruptions. We want to make sure stakeholders not reaching out. Hey, I saw you demo this. Can you throw this into the next set of requirements? No. You drive that to the product owner. They're over the requirements. We want to keep them uninterrupted. So we have to be on the lookout for those interruptions as well. These are some of the challenges that your teams may be dealing with. These challenges are opportunities for learning and improvement. Each challenge that we overcome can lead to stronger and a more effective team. And that's what we absolutely want. You must be proactive in dealing with these challenges. Continuously seek feedback and be open to adapting your strategies along the way. Remember, every team is different, so you're going to have to adapt your strategies along the way. There's not a one size fits all with your teams. So when you're going into your Scrum ceremonies, get your first Scrum Master job. One thing, we're going to do your historical data. My practical tips and best practices are always the same. Prepare ahead. Understand the agenda and the objectives of each Scrum event. Know them. Get them in your mind. The first job offer I ever got. Didn't know anything about Scrum. All I knew the events like the back of my hand. And one of the interview questions was, out of all the Scrum ceremonies, which one is your favorite and why? I had never did Scrum before. I was like, oh my God. But I said sprint planning, and I rattled off the top of my head what sprint planning meant. I was prepared. And the CTO said, that's my favorite meeting too. So know your Scrum ceremonies. Preparation ensures that you can guide discussions effectively. Encourage participation. Actively involve all team members, especially those, remember, who are quiet, those in the back of the room. Use techniques like the round robin to ensure everyone has a chance to speak. Sometimes I'll use a technique when you do a round robin. I'll say, okay, John, you start us off. Then you bounce it to somebody else. So Johnny go, okay, I'm gonna throw it to Jill. Right? That's a technique to make sure that everyone in the room gets a chance to speak. Use your time wisely when you're in your meetings. Remember, these are time box discussions to keep meetings focused and productive. Use whatever you need, but use your time wisely. And while you're in your sessions, remember, we're there to foster collaboration and create a safe space for our teams. While we're doing that, while we're creating a safe space, that means what we're doing is building trust. Be transparent and consistent in your actions. Very key. Trust encourages open communication and, again, collaboration. We want that. We want to promote respect, ensure that every opinion is valued and considered. This is a positive atmosphere where team members are more willing to contribute. And I always say a team that trust and respect you as a team who will do anything for you. I have had team members who say, if such and such would have came to me, I wouldn't have budged. But because you asked me to do it, I am going to do it. Why? Because they trust and they respect me. That is why. Remember? And it's because I'm quick to address any conflict. As soon as anything arises, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to focus on the problem, not the person. I'm always working with my teams for continuous process improvement. That is so important. We want to always, especially in software technology, it's going forward. Whether you like it or not, AI is here. And it's just going to be more and more advanced. Why? Because they're continuing to improve AI. It's a process improvement. And so we want to make sure that we are doing the same. Use your retrospective to reflect on what went well, what can be improved, and encourage your team to come up with actionable steps for improvement and for them to fulfill those actions. As I see so many people have retrospectives, they have action items, and they never follow through. One of my techniques is when you create those action items, assign somebody to it. The retrospective is not what the Scrum Master is going to do, but is what the team is going to do. So assign someone to those action items so that they can get it done. They're now accountable for following up on it. And then I want to say, stay open to change. Be willing to adapt again your processes and practices based on your team feedback and even the changing needs of your project. That's the key to being agile. We are adaptable and flexible. So as the project is even changing, you want to stay open to change. Always, no matter what you're doing, be clear and concise. Ensure your communication is straightforward and to the point. Avoid any jargon that might confuse your team members. Okay, and I know when you're first coming in, you're going to receive a bunch of new jargon, all kinds of tech terminology. They will give you grace, trust me. Your team will. Don't forget to use your visual tools such as Figma and Miro, right? Not only that, but your Scrum boards, Jira, Azure DevOps, your burn down charts. Don't forget your metrics. All of these, you want to leverage all of these tools with your team. You want to make also transparency. I always want, the first thing I do is create a dashboard, no matter what tool I'm in, because I want my team to see their velocity, their burn down, their burn up. You want to make that information as accessible as possible. And I'll even do a session on what is velocity so they understand it. And I had teams start telling me, have you seen that velocity issue? I'm like, no, I didn't look at it. Oh, it's going up. It's going up. They get excited about it. You want that. You also want to be doing frequent check-ins with your team members so that you stay informed about any challenges and progress. I always tell my Scrum Masters, you ought to be having one-on-ones with your team members. You want to get to know them on a more personal basis and vice versa. But also what it helps you do is to stay informed about any challenges, any hidden impediments, and the progress of your teammates. And most importantly, as we begin to wrap up, keep learning. Stay up to date on the latest Scrum practices and techniques. You have to. Like the yesterday weather technique, the interrupt buffer. You want to stay abreast of all the latest techniques that are out there. Therefore, continuous improvement is the key to being an effective Scrum Master. You have to do it. And last but not least, I started off with having fun. I'm going to end with having fun. Have fun with your team. Have fun with them. I joke with my team. We do Christmas retros, end of the year retros. I have fun with my team. Sometimes I'll do what we call a rapid fire. Are you a dog man or cat man? Coffee or tea? Movie or books? Right? To get to know them, to have fun with them. Winter, spring person. You want to have fun with your team. There's so many tools and techniques out there, formats that you can use to have fun with your teams. It is also a part of the agile process. So I hope that this facilitation masterclass has been beneficial to you. I hope that you have enjoyed it. Again, my goal is that this is a part of our Agile Leaders series for 2024, and twice a month we will be having a masterclass. On March 2nd at 12 noon, we will be having our Removing Impediments Masterclass. Everybody talks about it, but nobody tells you how to do so. I am going to tell you how to do so. This is exclusive to our Facebook group. No one else will have access to this until it finally goes live weeks down the road. So it is free for you, and because of your support, because of you joining me here, I want you to know that I appreciate truly each and every one of you. And again, if there's anything that you would like for me to cover during our masterclass sessions, our Agile Leaders 2024 masterclass sessions, please put the topic in the comments under this video, and I will make sure to address them. I want this to be your absolute best year yet. We are in this together. Okay, so if there's any topics you want me to cover, just let me know and I will make sure to do so. So with that being said, that is our time. I'm like 11 minutes over. I thank you all for showing up. I appreciate you. This will stay in the Facebook group, and so you can go back to it. Those who have missed it can catch up with it. And again, if there's any topics you would love for me to cover, please do not hesitate to let me know. Enjoy your Saturday.